and Talk Nutrition Me with Kelly Springer. Kelly, it's now time for you to introduce one of your dietitians. I'm really excited about this.
I'm very excited too. Kelly's Choice is growing exponentially, and we just hired a brand new dietitian to work actually in office with us here in Skinny Atlas, New York. So I want to welcome to the show Emily Thiel. Very excited to introduce her and talk about what we're doing on the private practice side. So Emily came on because we have a growing need for outpatient with our local hospital systems, and we're able to see all different types of diagnosis. So, welcome, Emily, to the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Emily, I know every day for you is a little bit different, but describing some of the clients that you have and some of the diagnoses and how you're able to help them.
Yeah, so something I've loved about working for Kelly's Choice, especially, is because every day and every patient is so different. So I meet with a variety of people. From my youngest patient right now is 11 and my oldest is 80.
Oh,
So
wow.
a lot of disordered eating, weight loss, especially people that are currently on GLP-1s and looking to do it healthily through weight loss. I see some people with chronic renal disease, diabetes is a big one. So, really, a bunch of different conditions I see every day.
I love that you talked about the age. I think that's something people don't really usually realize, that they can see a dietitian at any age, and it's never too late or too early to start with a registered dietitian. And the majority of your clients, are they covered by insurance?
They are, yeah, I would say almost all of them, except two I can think of. All of them are pretty much covered by insurance.
Which
Wow.
is amazing, amazing, right? And I can assume that the two that are paying are people that have Medicare, right? And we're hoping, and Neil, so just so you understand, so right now Medicare only covers diabetes and chronic kidney disease. But there is a bill in DC right now to get more CPT codes covered. So that's what we were talking about. Hopefully, in the next few weeks, I'll be able to sit with Dr. Oz, who is controlling our Medicare, Medicaid, and explain that we need to open up these CPT codes and get those people in to see us. So it's one of those things right now. We're getting probably 12 referrals a week from doctors for people that are over the age of 65, and they don't have either diabetes or chronic kidney, but they do have a need for a dietitian.
Oh, wow.
So that's where we're hoping in 2026 that we have more of those diagnostic codes covered, like GI issues or weight loss, different things open up. So just so you know, once you hit 65, you're mandated to be on Medicare, and you might lose your ability to see the dietitian. So we're working hard to get those covered.
Interesting. So tell me the day in the life of working for Kelly's Choice. How is it? Explain as a dietitian.
Yeah, so it's amazing. I came from a hospital background. So I was doing clinical work and kind of, like I tell Kelly, I was forced on people in the hospital. People have to see the dietitian whether they want to or not if they're admitted. Working for Kelly, people that come to see me really do, they're interested in their health and they want to make a difference and they're ready to take that step. So I really feel like I'm making a big difference, which is super fulfilling for me. So usually I see about 6 to 7 patients a day, both telehealth and in person. And then that comes with, if they have a referral from the physician or referring provider, which a lot of times we'll go over their lab work and what's been going on. And then I chart the necessary documentation after their visit. At every visit, we end the visit with goals for the next week or two and set up our next appointment. So a lot of my day is that, but I also have a lot of fun administrative kind of responsibilities because I am a full-time RD here. So I do help to do some like nutrition education materials, help with current guidelines. Like I just did a gestational diabetes outline and sample menu for one of our referring providers. So I get to do a lot of different things in a day, which I find super fulfilling.
It sounds
So
like it. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I want to talk about that for a second. So This is a hospital system out of Binghamton, New York, that we're working with right now. And I went in and talked to their endocrine side. So that's where your diabetes, thyroid disease, and things like that, and gestational diabetes, that's diabetes when you're pregnant. That's where those clients would go to see. The doctor showed me the handout that they're giving people, and this handout had to be from 1980. It was nutrition that we would not recommend today. And that's how nutrition is always changing. So, as Emily's talking about developing materials and things like that, we have to be on the forefront of the newest, latest research in nutrition. That's part of our oath and a part of our being part of HIPAA and all those different things, our ethics. And so that's why we're always staying up to date. And that's where we have to update our materials. And so that's what we just did for this hospital system. The moment I saw that, I handed it over to Emily and I was like, can you add in some fiber here? Can you add in some healthy fats? Can you add in some education around also the why, right? So a person just doesn't get a handout, but they're getting like the why behind why we're putting these foods together. So it's just interesting that nutrition does change. So if you saw a dietitian back 10 years ago, you may have outdated research.
Totally. And that's very interesting. And what have you seen changes since you've been a dietitian? Things just
Oh,
changed a
gosh.
ton.
Okay, so one of the biggest things Emily just did was that handout. So back in the day, we would counsel diabetes. It didn't matter if you were gestational or type 2 or even type 1. We would talk about carbs. We didn't talk about carbs in the way of fiber sources or non-fiber sources. And that is a huge difference. So basically, you're talking about in our last podcast about quinoa, for instance, that's a carbohydrate with fiber, with nutrients, with vitamins, and it has protein versus a bowl of ice cream. They're both carbohydrates, but they are not equal. So this is where understanding that we are speaking about that now, and or how healthy fats, we talked about that in the last podcast too, of how you need those to absorb fat soluble vitamins. So these are things that we really weren't talking about 10 years ago. And now we know a lot more about how the digestive tract works and how our bodies work and how vitamins and minerals work. It's really interesting what we've learned and how we're changing the education.
Wow. So, Emily, what else have you seen as changes in the way things are going as a dietitian?
So it's interesting seeing the questions that are asked by the older patients that I see and the younger patients. So I've noticed in my older population of patients, they're very much in that group of the Atkins diet, and carbs are bad and prioritizing protein and fats. But like Kelly said, we want to make sure they're healthy fats and differentiating the types of fats. I think that's something that over the years has become more of a topic that people are paying attention to. Of course, there's always like the question if eggs are bad, if people have like high cholesterol. And then we go over how, yes, eggs are good for you and that kind of thing. And then, of course, the younger populations, I've kind of noticed. I know our nonprofit and goes into the schools and does nutrition education, but a lot of the younger people I see aren't really familiar with how many calories they need a day, how to read a nutrition label. So it's interesting to see where people have greater levels of nutrition knowledge, whether, the age or not, and then where it's lacking a little.
And I think like you're talking, there's just a lot of misinformation and a lack of education. So I think with the two together, it's a dangerous combination, the lack and the miss in coming together. And so with our education you can see the light bulb turn on, right? You can see when you finally are like, this is why an egg is good for you. And they're like, wow, like I never was taught that. So it's just interesting. We just went through our 6-week transformation program with a bunch of pharmacists. So you would think pharmacy, right? They're higher level, they learn a lot in the way of pharmaceuticals and all that. You wouldn't believe every single call they were like, we had no idea. We had no idea.
Gosh.
And so this is where it doesn't even matter where you are in the spectrum of health, and that's a health field, and they had no idea about general nutrition.
Wow.
I had a patient the other day who was an older woman who's been having a lot of GI issues and like chronic constipation. And this made me think of this, but GI doctor had told her that the only way to fix her constipation was to eat 5 kiwis a day. And it was all in this big thing that kiwis were like the highest source of fiber. And I printed out for her to go over like sources of fiber in terms of grams per serving. And I was like, kiwis aren't even in like my highest food group. So I'm like, I don't know where the kiwis came from. And she's, oh, thank goodness. I was so sick of kiwi. It is just crazy. Like you would think a health field would know a little bit more about that.
Right.
No.
Right. And it's not. It's not. And so it's interesting of just a little fun fact, Neil. I was able to steal Emily from my husband's hospital. We were down in Nashville at our food nutrition conference. And I'm like, I'm just making this a done deal. Like you're coming over with us. And I'm so grateful that she has. And even being on this podcast, I think, Neil, you can see our day to day. It's so nice having the dietitians with us and who they're able to see, the ages they're able to cover, and just breaking through the crap that's out there. And we are the highest level of nutrition. And like I said, we are staying up to date on the latest and greatest.
It definitely seems like it. Now, when someone contacts you to schedule a call with you, Emily, or one of the other dietitians, how does it work once you start to work with them?
Great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. So I always start my initial appointments. It's like building rapport, getting to know one another. I want to know what brought you to a dietitian, what do you know, and then how can we work together to fill in the gaps. But I'm also big on I want to make it most realistic person I'm working with. The same nutrition goals won't work for everyone. So that's the initial appointment. And then at the end of the initial appointment, we discuss together, me and the patient, where do we want to go from here? Do you want to see me every week? Do you want to see me every other week? And then from we kind of base goals. So that might be for this week, I will add color to each of my meals. Or for this week, I will prioritize protein and make sure each meal has a protein source. It can be a lot of different things. So then on the follow-up session, I start all my follow-ups with the same, how did the last week go? Let's review the goals we set last week. Where did we fall short? Where did we really exceed? And what were the struggles of doing so? And then from there, I personalize everything. The person with weight loss goals will not have the same recommendations as someone with diabetes or disordered eating. So we see what works for them and implementing goals that are realistic. And then every week that we follow up is like that. And then we create new goals. I am very big on, like, I want them to see a difference and feel a difference and feel like what they're doing has purpose. And I feel like the goal setting really helps to do that.
Unreal. It's so intriguing how you come up with these things and figure them all out in so many ways. For you regarding, is weight loss the ultimate goal of a dietitian, or is it healthiness, being healthy? A lot of people think dietitian, diet, weight loss. Yeah.
So I actually, interestingly, when I was in school and when I first became a dietitian, I did not want to do weight loss. I have a passion for like oncology and chronic conditions, but weight loss, I was always like, I don't know. I tell all of my patients, especially when their goal is weight loss, I always make it clear I want this to be sustainable and something that's realistic, 1 to 2 pounds a week, long term. We don't want this to be a short, quick fix. And then I always say, too, I want you to feel better. I want your energy levels to increase. I want your clothes to fit better. I want you to be able to have more energy and be able to play with your kids and your dog. So I definitely focus more on how we feel more than how we look. And I definitely do not prioritize weight loss. But if that's someone's goals, then of course I will work with them to meet those goals. But it's definitely not all I do.
You decide basically, okay, this is where it fits better. Got it. Like you're going to see especially where their goals are and what your goals are to make sure that they stay healthy, it sounds like.
Yeah, a lot of people, especially with the GLP-1 drug becoming so popular, it's like weight loss fast, but there's so much more to it than that. Kelly's talking with fiber and making sure we're getting enough nutrients while we're doing a weight loss that's efficient and effective, but also sustainable.
And Neil, too, the majority of the clients that Emily's seeing and our dietitians see are doctor referred. You don't need a doctor referral to see a dietitian, but we're also able to go deep. We're able to look at their lab work and request more lab work. So that is something as well that a lot of people don't know, that we have that ability to really work with the physician to get to the actual health, like to make sure we're bringing up those levels of vitamin D, to bring up our protein sources or bring up our antioxidants. So we're able to really go deeper than, for instance, like a health coach.
I got it. Interesting. So Kelly, do you have any other questions for Emily?
I just think it's Fantastic. Emily's been able to see a lot of different sides of Kelly's Choice very quickly here. Like she said, from helping with looking at the materials that we have and building new ones, seeing the different clients, interacting with our whole team, of reaching out to physicians' offices. It's been a lot that she's seen, and I'm just so grateful to have her in office with me and to be growing our community of dietitians. So thank you, Emily. I appreciate you being on the podcast. And anything else that you want to share?
I don't think so. I am equally as grateful for the opportunity, and it's been amazing working for Kelly's Choice, and just being able to feel like I make a difference has been super fulfilling, and it's been amazing.
All right.
Great.
Appreciate it. Go to kellyschoice.org and schedule a call with a dietitian today and pick up the new weight loss era.
Yeah, and you can even
book Emily. Exactly. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank
That was a special
you.
simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Talk Nutrition to me, guys.